Elon Musk is costing us our jobs. Elon Musk is costing us our sanity. And now Elon Musk is costing people their lives. Elon Musk and Donald Trump do not care about the effect of their actions. They do not care that Doge is run by a bunch of dumb and dangerous Dogebags. All they care about is distracting and making enough of a mess that they can condense more power into their hands and serve themselves and the rest of their billionaire friends. They do not care about the implications of their actions, even when they are fatal, which is what we are now seeing. People are losing their lives in this country and around the world because of Donald Trump and Elon's actions, and Congressman Greg Casar called it out in an important warning to the American people that we have to check out. We're going to get into it, but before we do, if I could quickly ask for you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now let's hear from Congressman Greg Casar.
I'm going to do something that I've never done in a congressional hearing before, and that is plead for help from the American people, plead for help from my Republican colleagues on something that we actually all agree on, because lives are at stake right now. I'm going to start by describing the facts on the ground. Millions of people are at risk of dying of starvation in areas of the world where Democrats and Republicans have already agreed and committed to feeding them with American-grown food for humanitarian reasons and for global stability. But yesterday, I spoke with people in charge of warehouses in Sudan and Ethiopia, warehouses full of food, but because of Doge, that food is trapped in the warehouse out of reach of starving and dying moms and kids. In those two countries alone, 150,000 children and moms are at risk of dying this month if that food is not delivered from the warehouse to them right up the road. Everyone agrees that's not supposed to happen. Republicans voted for this food, and Democrats voted for this food to get out. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the food should go out as part of his life-saving waiver. Doge Chairwoman Marjorie Taylor Greene started this hearing by saying that life-saving food programs should still be running. We have paid for the food, and we have shipped it, and it is sitting trapped in the warehouse because Doge is blocking the payments needed to get the food out to the people who need it. So here's what that means. It means that kids are dying, and more will die tomorrow, of severe acute malnutrition. If you want nightmares, just Google severe acute malnutrition and look at the photos. The way that healthcare workers determine if a kid is dying of this is they measure their bicep. And if their bicep is less than 4.5 inches around, then that means you could die of starvation tomorrow. Think of a kid's arm fitting through this hole. Think of your kid's arm fitting through this hole. These kids could die tomorrow. You've heard today about the waiver for life-saving humanitarian assistance, and all I'm asking is for Rubio's waiver to be made real. People watching at home, you can do something about this. I know many of these hearings are live on Fox News. I'm a Democrat. For many of the people watching, you may not agree with me on many issues, but I think we can all agree that this food needs to get out of the warehouse and to these kids. I've gotten phone calls from conservative friends, people of faith that moved to Africa to live out their faith of I was naked and you clothed me, I was hungry and you fed me, and they agree that this food should be given out. So call your Republican congressperson, call the White House, tell them you know they didn't mean to do this, but that this food needs to go out tomorrow. If you're in the press, cover this story. Ask questions about Ethiopia. Ask questions about Sudan. Tell the world about this. And to my Republican colleagues, Doge is not going to listen to me, but you can fix this. Pick up the phone, make a phone call. Y'all could save lives today. Send an email. Please, put politics aside, get the food out of the warehouse, save these kids' lives. you can save these kids' lives. With that, I yield back.
That is terrifying. And that is an important warning that needs to be platformed more. It needs to be shared more, and it needs to be talked about more. That Donald Trump and Elon Musk quite literally do not care about people losing their lives. Of course, we saw this during COVID. We see this with the way that Donald Trump is treating those fighting in Ukraine. The way he has talked about those who have served our country as suckers and losers. Of course, this man has no empathy. Of course, Elon Musk doesn't care. These are just numbers to them. The only numbers they care about are in their bank account. The only numbers they care about are their net worths. That is it. They could not care less. But we need to give this more attention. And before we get into the rest of what Congressman Greg Casar had to say about Elon and Donald Trump, and it's just the MAGA budget that is going to be so dangerous and harmful to the lives of people in this country, I want to read a little bit more about this topic. Musk's scandal at USAID takes ugly turn, putting starving kids at risk. Ever since Donald Trump and Elon Musk began downsizing the U.S. Agency for International Development, the administration has claimed that aid for life-saving humanitarian assistance would continue. This notion has helped sustain the idea that dismantling of USAID is merely about tackling government waste and fraud. After all, if the most critical assistance is continuing, then perhaps what is being targeted really is superfluous spending, as Musk and Trump claim. But now the delivery of therapeutic food assistance to nearly 400,000 severely malnourished children abroad is in doubt due to ongoing firings at USAID. Two manufacturers of the product told me in an interview the raw materials needed to make the product are sitting in warehouses, but the manufacturer says they're uncertain whether to proceed because they don't know if the U.S. government still wants to buy the product, and they can't be certain it will be shipped. This is a point I've tried to return to as much as possible on USAID and on our work to build American soft power abroad. These are efforts that don't just take big bags of cash, drop them, and then leave. The food assistance is produced by American companies. Food that we send over is made by American farmers. It's grown on American farms. And those jobs will be lost. This is not some money laundering scheme that just sends cash by the boatload. These are important investments in our economy, in American jobs. It's the reason why economists are predicting that there will be a downturn in the economy. Mr. Economy, Donald Trump. They are dumb. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know the impacts, and they also don't care because they're so caught up in their greed. And that is what Congressman Casar talked more about in this clip right here.
So if you try to organize a union at your workplace and your employer fires you, it is the NLRB that makes sure that you are protected. If you form a union and your employer refuses to bargain with you, it is the NLRB that holds those big corporations accountable. Without a strong NLRB, workers will face more challenges in fighting for higher pay, better benefits, and workplace safety. Musk and Trump know this because they know that if you can't bargain, then all you've got left is begging. That is why they are coming after unions. That is why they are coming after workers' ability to bargain together, because they want to be able to force workers at their companies to work for more hours, for less pay, with less safety, less rights, while keeping more money for their big billionaire donors and friends.
These are greedy people. It is incredibly scary. They are dangerous and need to be checked. They need to be checked. And it's not going to stop unless really we just attack it at the belly of the beast. And that is opposing as strongly as we can this billionaire bailout, $5 trillion tax cut budget that, and we love Greg Casar on the show, rising star in the Democratic Party. He had more to say on right here.
Today, Republicans here in the House will try to pass this billionaire budget resolution. There's some, yeah, it's terrible. They're going to try, now they're going to try to talk about their complicated math or legalese, but what's going on for the everyday person is really simple. And so I want the folks watching at home to know that what House Republicans are trying to pass today is to steal from seniors, steal from children, steal from veterans, all to pay for tax cuts for the ultra-rich. That's what it is. They want to end Medicaid as we know it just to pay for tax breaks for guys like Elon Musk. The bottom line is their plan is billionaires get richer, everybody else gets screwed. Now, they think they've got a lot going for them. They've got the money, they've got the big corporations, they have the White House and the Republicans in Congress. But I don't really like their odds because House Republicans and billionaires are picking a fight with working Americans. And in a democracy, the people win. 8 years ago, when extreme Republicans had the White House and both the House and the Senate, they had the money, they had their plan to take health care away from millions of Americans and end the Affordable Care Act, but the American people won and those House Republicans lost. And we're right back in the same situation because today something is happening in America. Americans are rising up to say we want a government by and for the people, not by and for the billionaires. You see it in protests and marches and at Republican town halls all across the country. I can promise you, even though when the press go and ask some of these Republicans whether they're worried about what they're seeing at their town halls, whether they're worried about those protests, they have to lie through their teeth when they say they're not worried because we hear them in the hallway worried. They're worried because they know that they have a choice. They can either be representatives of their districts or they can act like Trump Musk employees. They have that choice. And they know that if they keep acting as Trump Musk employees, that the people in their district are going to demand a representative. And that puts them in a tight spot. And while the Republicans say they have a majority, they're not telling the full truth there. It's a very thin majority. And if just 3 House Republicans choose to act as representatives of their districts rather than Trump organization employees, then we can block this billionaire tax ripoff, protect working families, save our health care as we know it. Just 3 Republicans who will say, no, we're not going to kick people off of their health care to pay Elon Musk even more money. To get there, we're going to need to share stories like the ones you will hear today, and we will need coalitions like this one to educate and organize people across the country. In Washington, we Democratic leaders need to step up because courage inspires courage. And so I know that I and my colleagues here today are ready to go to the mat and fight all the way until we stop this budget and finally demand that instead of a tax break for greedy billionaires, that we actually tax those greedy billionaires and expand the programs that working people deserve.
This is all incredibly scary. All this needs to be uplifted more. We are going to be talking about all this. This is a fight against billionaires, and they are now running our government. We're going to be talking about it every single day on the show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.